Here we are in the fresh scene with this model of a dragon figurine, which is actually modeled with those same techniques I showed you in previous videos. Okay, so there is nothing fancy about it. It's just some manual work invested in it. Okay, so once you hit a stage when your model is finished. So for example, let's do a simple preview render with Alt and R keyboard, and you can see this dragon looks, well, really decent, but it lacks details, it lacks features. So the best way to add detail is to utilize sub-polygon displacement. And that sub-polygon displacement actually takes place when you are rendering. So let me hide it, preview render, and we will delete this hypernerve so you can actually see the polygon structure on this dragon figurine. Okay. To actually displace your object, to add subtle detail that would be practically impossible to model, you have to do that by creating a new material. Okay, so we can double click here and we have a new material, and we will double click once again so we get all the properties regarding that detail. Okay, here under color, you can actually set some color. So for example, that can be something like bluish, maybe. Okay, we can turn off specular. I could have really talked about this material values, but that would be for a completely another tutorial set. So the thing you're interested here is this displacement guy. Okay, so you must activate it. So we are activating the displacement right now. And to actually see the results, you have to apply that material to your dragon. So you can simply, let's say, drag and drop it on the dragon. Okay, you can see a preview in your viewport. Okay, what I want to do now is to actually create some procedural surface for this dragon. Okay, so here under texture, I want to add a noise. Don't really be worried about a lot of these options. It's really not important. Just concentrate on the process of displacement. So I'm actually adding some noise. As you can see here, you have a preview. Okay, you can actually turn it on and off, or really increase it by right clicking. You have a lot of options. So let me set that to huge, which is really not huge. It's a little bit bigger. So if I do a preview render now, you will see something has happened. Well, the dragon is actually displaced, but it's not displaced properly. It's really a rough representation. So I want to activate this sub-polygon displacements. So let's just activate that and see what will happen. This means that the mesh will be subdivided 4 times. Okay. Now you can see it's also very strong effect. So let's tune it down a bit, somewhere around maybe 75. So it's a little bit softer, and the actual height of the displacement is really too big. We want this effect to be a little bit more subtle. So let's enter here, for example, 1 meter and see what happens. And it looks better. But you see, we actually want to have rounded geometry because currently it's subdivided, but it's not smooth. So we want to activate this round geometry. Okay, so let's see the results. That looks promising. Okay. I really encourage you to experiment with those settings. And if you for some reason don't understand the setting, just simply hover over it and press Ctrl and F1, and help system will open describing that feature. Okay. You see here under noise that is calculated mathematically. If you click on this preview, you will enter all the properties of of that noise, and you can actually choose from various noises type. Okay, so experiment with this a bit. Well, prior to the recording, I found that this cranial noise really does the job for me. So we want to go back to our previous screen, okay, with this little guy here that's just navigating through this material editor. Okay, so I'll go back, and you can actually see I have really good solid results now with the displacement. Okay, so imagine modeling all this by hand. That would be a nightmare without a sculpting application. Okay, so utilize this displacement and help yourself to get these really nice subtle details. Let me show in the next video another use for displacement. Okay, let me show another usage of sub-polygon displacement. Basically, here in this scene, I have let's say a wall. It's basically a scaled cube, and it has some subdivisions. And as you can see, I have a selection tag. And if I double click it, it will show the contents, and that's basically this front side of the object, because I want to displace only this side. Okay. In this example, you can, other than using all these procedural mathematical effects and various options you can find here as a texture, you can actually use an image. Okay, so I loaded an image, and just right clicking, you can see it's a black and white image of the old brick wall. So imagine that you have to model that wall. Well, that would be really a nightmare doing it by hand. So you can actually, let me just do a simple test render here with my Alt and R keyboard shortcut, and this preview render will pop up. So currently my displacement is not enabled, so when I enable it, something will change. Okay, so basically you're asking yourself, why can't I see any displacement? Well, that's because this sub-polygon displacement needs to be activated, because we don't have enough information on this mesh as it is now to represent that really detailed surface. So we activated sub-polygon displacement, and instantly we have some results. But results are not as good as we expected. The results are a bit rough. So you can experiment with the strength and height, and you can even experiment with these values. For example, if you enter 0 here and 1 here, you will basically invert the values. Okay, let me undo that and go back. We want to increase this subdivision level, but just 1 unit per time, because it is really computationally intensive. Okay, let me try one more. We get somewhat better results. Let's go one step ahead. You see, as I add subdivisions, the result becomes more correct and becomes more what we wanted. So let's try even 8. Okay, you can see that changes. So I advise you not to go over 10, because that can be really challenging for your CPU, and it can really bog down your computer. Okay, so I'm not trying to build a perfect wall here right now. I'm just trying to show you how to help yourself with displacement. Okay, and for that matter, just as a side note, you don't have to keep the displacement. You can later create normal maps and render this as a texture, so you can really cheat, so you avoid the whole modeling process. But that's a completely another story. Okay, in this example, I just want to show you how you will get a really good, really excellent results. Well, for that you have to have a displacement map. It's basically an image. You can find displacement maps on the internet. That's basically an image that is constructed especially for that surface. The black and white and the shades of gray are really designed for this purpose. So if you know your way around 2D, then you have an advantage. Okay? Let me just show you how this looks when once properly subdivided. Okay, just wait for render. And you can see these results are really correct, really good. So to get those really precise displacements, you have to have really good displacement maps, and you have to have enough of these subdivision levels. Okay, and you can also imagine the amount of manual work you should put into this to get this kind of results, which you can get in a matter of seconds with subpolygon displacements. So use subpolygon displacements whenever you can to avoid actually modeling something this complex. Okay, that wraps it up for SPD modeling.